Hey, thank you. Good day. Greetings from Studio 84. We are back here on another episode of Business Chronicles, and in this episode, I host an interesting lady who does interesting things. Saudah Mayanja, her products right here. Mayanja and Company, I believe, Mayanja and Co.
Yes.
Yes.
Better known as Mayanja candles.
Exactly. Many people know her as Mayanja Candles because she's big on all sorts of candles that do all sorts of things to you and your soul. Mayanja, Saudah won't do you an injustice. So tell us, who are you? What do you do? And how did we end up here?
Oh, all right. Hi, everybody. I am Saudah Mayanja. I am one of the founders of Mayanja Candles. I started the company together with my sisters-in-law, but we are so close, I don't think of them as my in-laws anymore. I think of them as my sisters, Yasmin Mayanja and Amira Sakatawa. So we started this company in COVID.
Wow.
Mostly because we were bored. So the rationale behind
something good came out of COVID.
Yeah. So it's three different prongs that led us here. The first is that we're bored and needed something to do.
Yeah.
The second is that I am a voracious consumer of candles, which I usually used to receive from my sisters in the US and in the UK.
Yeah.
Every month on a monthly basis. But during COVID, the passenger planes were infrequent, and so my supplies were dwindling.
Yeah.
And so, plus, Yasmin, my sister, kept on stealing my candles.
Hold on, Saudah.
Okay.
You're a big consumer of candles.
Yes.
Now, explain to me like my child.
Yeah.
How do you why candles?
Okay.
Of all things that
All
are there
things.
to consume.
Okay, so it's two reasons to use candles, isn't it? The first is obviously that they smell very good.
Yeah.
And there is nothing like coming home after a very long day and lighting a candle, and the scent would relax you, and you just feel good. It's actually good for your mental health.
Yeah.
And the second is the soft light and the sets an ambience. It's romantic. Some of us are unmarried, but we can be by ourselves. That's a story for another day.
Naughty, Saudah, naughty.
So yeah, it's about so sometimes when let's say you have some friends over.
Yeah.
You can light. You imagine this when it's so wet and miserable, right?
Yeah.
Which is actually how I got into candles, because I still live in the UK and it's wet and miserable there all the time.
Yeah.
And damp, and so you come back home, you light your candle, have a cup of tea, read a good book. You know, it's just about
Just takes you places after a hectic day.
Exactly. And remember, because we started in COVID, right? And so you're like, my God, I missed the beach. We're in lockdown. And then you light the Mayanja candle called Indivasa, Jamaica, because it takes you to the beach.
Saudah, you're about to take us all through your flavors of candles to tell us what they do and the places they take us.
Yeah, pola.
Pola.
Yes. So, or maybe you want to, like that, do you know that vibe you get when you're like in a coffee shop?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got candles. We've got the caramel macchiato. It's a mix of coffee and chocolate. It's like a mocha latte. You light that. You buy a Mayanja candle for 50,000 shillings. You like that. You don't have to visit Javas all the time.
You can bring the ambience to your home.
You can bring the ambience to your home. So it's really anything that you'd like to feel. You can.
Let's go straight. You know, you mentioned the price of a candle already at 50,000, and where can people, now that you bring that up, where can people find a Mayanja candle in this city?
All right. So, well, first of all, you can call me on 0772 650 557, and I can send you a delivery because I've got most of the stock.
Yes.
And so I can send you as you like. But I also have partners who retail our candles. So you can go to Edge Living.
Yes.
In Nakasero. It's opposite the Nakasero Primary School.
Yes.
You can go to Balonji Interiors, Design Doka, on the Cube on the first floor.
Yeah.
And you can go at the Sheraton Hotel.
Okay.
In the lobby, there is a gift shop. So those are three places you can go right now.
And get a Mayanja candle of your choice.
Of your choice, yes. And if you do not find it,
yes,
then you can give me a call and I'll deliver. Or come visit me in Kansang at my workshop on the Chwafo Road.
Saudah, you lived abroad, right?
I did.
What were you doing there? Studying, working,
Yeah.
studying and working? What's the story there?
Well, it's a little bit of everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I did a mamba. I'm from Uganda. Sometimes people doubt me,
I know.
but I'm from Uganda. I did a mamba, which is why the candles also have mamba names. So I went to school at Mobs,
Yeah.
and when I was done with my first year, my father had passed away,
Oh.
and so I decided to move to the UK to live with my mom.
Mm.
So I lived there for 2 years, and I was doing chair, but I was also doing a sensible job.
Yeah.
But I wanted a lot of money, so I did 3 jobs. And my sister, Mary, would tell my brothers, and she would be like, like I had £10,000 at any one
Exactly
point.
right there.
because, because I did too many jobs. So it's a silly little joke. So there I was just living with my mom and working. I got a work visa and I managed to live in the UK for 2 years. Then I came back to Uganda.
Mm.
And I worked in UBA. I was doing banking,
Yeah.
but well, I got bored quickly. And so one thing led to another, and so I left banking and then I moved to Kenya.
Oh.
Yes, so I am a wandering soul. So I moved to Kenya. I lived there for a year. I was working in the Nation Media Group as a economic analyst, journalist, which was one of all my very many degrees as one or another in the area of economics.
I have many questions.
Yes.
Every time you say something, like 3 questions.
3 questions come up because I did not even finish all the places I've
Before I wouldn't let you finish because I already have questions.
okay.
Many people who go abroad to study, end up working, don't come back.
Yeah.
What brought you back? How come you came back?
How come I came back? Well, I think maybe for those people, I don't want this to sound ridiculous
Judgmental in any
yeah.
way or something.
But there is also the question of family.
Yeah.
Now for me, my father, we are 27 Mayanja children. Right? And so you imagine, like when I was living in Korea,
Yeah.
I missed so much.
Living where?
In South Korea. Yes, that's one of the places I lived, studied and worked, taught English to the craziest children. But I missed my family. You miss family events. You miss Eid. Last Thursday was my birthday.
Oh.
And my elder brother, he brought his grandson, who is my grandson, over to wish me a happy birthday. Those are things I was missing.
Yeah.
I needed a touchstone. I needed to be around my family, especially because, as I mentioned earlier, I lost my father, who was everything to me.
Yeah.
And so now I like being near home. I do have, I've got a serious case of wanderlust. It's insane. So like every year I've got to leave Uganda.
Yeah.
I've got to go somewhere, and unfortunately,
Clearly,
left
do
Uganda for
clearly.
3 years.
No, because you lost me on UK, Kenya, now
Yeah.
South Korea.
Yes, okay, yeah.
Is there any other place you didn't
Yes.
mention?
So before South Korea, it was China.
Saudah,
Yeah.
you look young,
Yeah.
but you have lived a life.
Yes, an Asian life. I've spent so much time.
What's life like? I was just saying, I was having a conversation with Rafi and the guys here at Studio 84 yesterday. We were about to interview someone about living abroad and traveling, the different cultures and all. Yeah. Let's get into that now.
Yeah.
Living and working in Uganda, living and working in the UK, Korea and China.
Yeah.
What's it like? The life, the day stress, winding down in the evening. What is it like if you compare those 4 places?
Well, for quality of life alone, nothing beats Uganda. Seriously.
Wow.
Because it's warm here.
Yes.
Yeah. It is so cold in those countries, especially the winters. So in Korea, I lived in Daegu, and that is the Koreans call it Daegu Africa or something like Defrica or something. In the summers, it is so hot, it gets to nearly 40. And in the winters, it's so cold, it goes to -13. So there needs to be a balance. So in the fall is when it's really wonderful to live.
And the fall is not long.
Yeah, it's maybe 2.5 months or something.
Yeah.
And then that's the perfect time to go on holiday. Yeah. And then you go over there and you find a million Chinese people.
Exactly.
Yes. And I forgot all my Chinese, so I can't talk to them. But I remember all my Korean, so at least that's good. But for quality of life, I must say it's better here. Seriously, it's a strange thing Ugandans tend not to believe, but the food is better here. I'm a Muslim, so it's very easy to get halal here.
Yes.
Um, and there is less money, but the cost of living is also lower.
It's also low. Yeah.
Yes, so you can live
On your
relatively
less
comfortable,
income.
yeah,
Yeah,
a
fairly
relatively
comfortably.
comfortable lifestyle. Now, this is what happens when Ugandans move to those other countries.
Yeah.
So, because here in Uganda, you live a certain lifestyle or a certain social class, as it were,
Yeah.
and then when you move to the developed world, you automatically go to the bottom of the food chain.
Yes.
You're automatically lower class. So people, they fail to trick their brains into making that switch. Yeah. So and then you're living in Korea, you're on a scholarship, and you're out there taking cabs and what, and not doing cheyo, and then asking for pocket money from Uganda.
Life is interesting,
Yeah.
to say the least.
Yeah, but the beauty with being adaptable and being able to adjust like I did was you get inserted into the community, and because when you're, it's very easy to just be part of the international students community
Yes,
in
it
those
is.
countries,
Yeah.
especially the Asian countries. But so for me, I went and I started teaching English, and I made very good friends with Koreans. I made very good friends with Japanese girls, which is how I learned how to make candles. Yeah. So you've got to be able to maneuver and adjust and make friends and not. So if I visit a foreign country, I'm not going to order McDonald's. It's very silly. It's everywhere. So like when I was in Malaysia, I went and I ordered. Everybody was like, "You've got to go for nasi lemak."
Yeah.
Nasi lemak, and I was like, "What's that?" They're like, "It's very good. It's made out of coconut and whatever." And so then I went and I ordered nasi lemak, and I really enjoyed myself. And I drank juice from a coconut. I went to the beach, and they gave me a huge coconut and with a straw. So that was fun. And there was a lot of street food. And then I ate chapati. Then I felt like I was at home. So and I find that every time you visit somewhere, the best way to learn about that country and that culture is through their cuisine.
Yeah.
But then there's the question of halal, which is why it was, because I spent a month in Singapore. That was a good place for me to be because everything is halal. So now, in fact, the question you asked me, the best answer for it is best place I could possibly live is Singapore, because it's got the Ugandan weather, the Ugandan food, the matoke and gonja and whatever.
The standard of living
With
is
the
also
with the
up there.
developed world standard, yes. So if I could live any place, I'd live there.
But the cost of living is also really, really high.
My friend. My friend. Someone was talking to me about this one time, and was saying, because you know them Prada shops, whatever, at the airport, in the airport lounges, whatever, and so I like, do those people really make money, right? And then someone was like, no, do you know, I asked one of the attendants, and they said that you just need one Singaporean to stop in every month. One Singaporean is enough. You don't need other customers.
I know.
Yeah, they're like, one Singaporean comes in, it's all good. Yeah, so I enjoyed living in Singapore. It was so wonderful.
I have friends who went for a conference in Singapore, and they just crossed over to Malaysia by bus and did all the shopping there. I said, Singapore, we shall fast our days in Singapore.
That's what I'm saying. I did that as well, because I landed in Singapore, then I took the bus via the causeway into Johor Bahru in Malaysia, and then I took a train to Penang, which was this awesome island.
Beautiful.
I spent some time,
Saudah, you were telling me earlier that you are such a travel person. You used a word which I'll let you use again. You have to go somewhere every year or something. What's that about?
I get bored. I don't have a sensible answer other than I get bored. So I'm always good to go somewhere. At least, for example, I could go to Mecca. So I've done that. I did Mecca and Medina. It was so wonderful. And I went to Jeddah, sailing on the Red Sea. It's interesting, isn't it? Or at the very least, you can be like, you know what? I'm just going to go to Kenya. I'm going to jump on a bus.
Yes.
And I'm going to go to Kenya and see my friends who I last saw when I used to work there.
It can be as simple as that.
Yeah.
You don't have to spend thousands of dollars on a ticket going far and wide. You can just...
And you know, with me, because what we've not talked about quite a bit now, is when I was studying economics and finance and risk analysis. I'm a public policy analytical person, but then only to turn 35 and start Mayanja Candles and find out that I'm actually more on the creative side. This is more interesting to me. So every time we travel, you get inspiration, right?
Saudah, I I actually can't quite keep up with these conversations because maybe 90% or even everyone I've had here on this program talking business chronicles, they are not doing the stuff they study. So how did you end up studying, risk analysis and all that stuff? And then,
Okay, so I did business at MOBS.
yeah,
Reminding people that in the Mamaganda, it keeps coming up. So I did business at MOBS.
Yeah.
And then, like I told you, my father passed and then I moved to the UK.
Yeah.
When I moved to the UK, I was working as an account assistant in an accounting firm, but I was also working in a bar. I'm a Muslim. Muslims don't come for me, but I did work in a bar.
It was all about the money.
It was about the money. I didn't imbibe at the O2 Arena. Do you know, I used to work on the backstage bar. So
Wow.
I've handed a drink to Prince and Andrea Bocelli. These are people I would never have met. It's amazing what travel does for you. And I have got a huge tip from the people in Beyonce's entourage. So it was also pretty cool. And so, then I came back and did banking. Then I went and did journalism in Kenya. So then I didn't do so much of the business journalism, these ones of reporting. But I was doing a lot of economic analysis, especially because the Chinese, that's when they were really coming in with the extractives industry. So I was doing quite a bit of that. So when the chance came to go do my master's in China, I went to economic side.
Yes.
So I went and I've got a master's of economics and I've got a master's of politics from Beijing. And so then I came back home. And I was very interested in applying what I had studied. And so I got a job with next to a government adjacent job. I got a job with the PPDA. So I was an auditor with PPDA, which was so interesting. I really enjoyed the whole government contracts or whatever. And I liked getting into though I suppose the procurement officers didn't want to see me coming, but I liked getting into the what you would call a contract audit, not so much the compliance audit, but the contract audit. Because I want to know what were those bags of cement actually used on this. If you say that was in this structure with 500 bags of cement, and they can clearly see that you used 200.
And you know what's there to show that they were used.
Yeah, so that was interesting, like getting into the materials and whatever. And
how much mess did you find there?
Quite a bit. I can't talk about quite a bit. But I must say, I was quite impressed because by the time I got there, they had the government entities. They were now compliant in as far as make sure that this form is signed, make sure that these people are around, make sure that on the compliance side, in as far as walking through or doing the bare minimum.
Yes,
they were doing that because before that they were not. So by the time I got the PPD had done quite a bit to make sure that to streamline exactly and make sure that at the very least they were compliant. The contracts would be awarded by one person, for example. So by the time we were in, that was no longer the case. PPD had done quite a very good job of that. And then, but there is always, we're talking about huge sums of money. There's always malfeasance here and there. So because I was in 2 audits, and that's why when I next went to study, I did, this is in South Korea now, I did Masters of Public Policy and Masters of Economics again. But my dissertation, my research was I developed a model for risk analysis in public-private partnerships in Uganda. So that's where that came from. And then after a little while, I also did a small course in actuarial sciences and risk management. And then when it was time to do my PhD, but which I put on hold.
You're impossible. I can't.
But I'm going to pick it up again. I'm going to go go at it from a different angle, because right now I've been looking at the problems, but now I want to start from the beneficiary realization side. Yeah, I want that's what I'm going to.
Saudah, you're impossible. Because a typical creative will be asking themselves, how are all these 2, 3 masters and a PhD helping me make a better candle?
Yeah, yeah.
And you 1 minute you're creative, next minute you're proven to be such an academic person. I would expect someone who likes, okay, I assume you like school by the time you do all these masters and all, to be lecturing at some university somewhere.
I do.
Do you see yourself doing that sometime?
I want to be able to marry my two passions, academia
And the creative side of things.
Yes, because you find something you're good at, and then you find a way to monetize it. I want to be able to marry those two things into, and then teach people that, because we cannot, our country, we are not going to develop. We are going to develop Uganda through companies like Mayanja Candles. Yeah, once there is small businesses. That is how you develop a middle class. Right now, we do not have one in Uganda. The middle class is non-existent. We've just got a consumer class.
I don't think our president agrees with you, Mayanja.
Well, the president of Uganda has always disagreed with people from my family, so it's not.
It won't be the
tradition.
first time he's disagreeing with the Mayanja.
Yeah, it's tradition. I think.
Impossible. You think?
Yeah, because right now you have got people who are who are employed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you've got who are employed by government and the telecoms and the like. Yeah, you've got those people. Then you've got the very big multinational companies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, that's not enough to build an economy.
No.
You have got to build the Mayanja Candles.
Yeah.
And you have got to build up the competitors of the Mayanja Candles. But everybody, please come slowly.
Not yet. You're not yet welcome until we get to a certain level.
Please, I still need to dominate for a while. But yes, so that is how you build. Because when you've got Mayanja Candles and we've got 15 employees, and you've got the next person up and they've got 8 employees. We've got another company, let's say like Livara Beauty. I don't know how many employees they have. My expectation is that they're much bigger than Mayanja Candles.
100.
Exactly. So, but you see, no, she probably started as small as I am.
Oh, yes.
And then grew to where she is. And also if I could be given the opportunity, whoever's listening, to grow me up to Livara.
We could use some funding here and there.
This is what I'm saying. And so that is how you grow. You grow a middle class. Now, if I to go back a little bit to your first question about my story.
Yeah.
So I told you we had 3 prongs, and there was the board prong, and there was the lack of supplies, the dwindling supplies prong. But the other prong was, I don't know if you remember, but there was a lot of defilement, school dropouts,
Yes.
and with mothers.
Yes.
We had so much of that going on. And for me, and because everybody can only intervene where they know and where they know the problem is, so we had a huge problem in the Muslim community. Unfortunately, we are organized, but perhaps not so as well organized as the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
So we could not intervene in a systematic fashion, and so I wanted to help, and clearly my resources were limited. But I wanted to help in whatever small way I could.
You could.
To employ, because these are people, we share the local mosque.
Yes. Yes.
These are people we pray with. We see them on Jummah, we see them in Ramadan. We are there every night for Tarawih prayers. And their daughters had dropped out of school because they could no longer afford to send their daughters back to school. And after that, there is also many different societal ills that can result. And so we wanted to start a company where we could, in fact, before we wanted to start a company, we wanted to give them a place of refuge so that they could come to, let's say, our house. And then there is no danger, all those dangers of defilement and whatever, that is removed. Because not to give a sexual predator an excuse, but one, he's got to be deprived.
Yes.
But also he's got to have the opportunity.
Yeah.
So you take the opportunity away. When the girl is not in front of him, then it's not going to assault anybody.
When she's not in front of him,
exactly.
and she's empowered in a way.
That too, exactly.
Yeah.
So we were like, they can come to our house.
Let's see how successful the girls come to your house.
Well, like the girls can come to our house, and the question was, what do they do once they get there, right? And so we mold two options. One was to start sewing the reusable sanitary towels, but going back again, so I get bored. So I know I would get bored by that very quickly, though it is certainly that is doing God's work, the people who do that work. Or I was like, you know what, we can make candles actually. And so my sister was like, yeah, let's make candles. So the idea is to, you give them a skill, and it's not because this is very beautiful, I must say, but the making of it
is quite a sight.
Yeah. Do you know how people say that you shouldn't see how a sausage is made? You should not see how a
no,
candle
you
is
don't.
made. And when you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, it doesn't require it doesn't require for you to be skilled at the beginning. So you can look at it as domestic work.
Yes.
So then after that, once you've, so I pour the candles because I have the mathematical calculation. It's in my head. I don't share it with anyone.
It's the recipe. It's like the KFC recipe.
Yes, it's like I don't share that. So that's in my head. So I make the scented candle. But in getting ready and putting in the wicks and whatever, they can do that.
They do that.
And melting the wax. Then I come, I do my additions and whatever, and then I pour the candle. Then in the beginning, I'm not used to refine the candles. Like I said, it starts out nasty. So you've got to refine it to turning into a beautiful product. But I taught them how to do that. Then I taught them stuff like stock taking. And I taught them, I'm starting to teach them a little bit about branding and brand visibility and trying to get into the TikTok and whatever, but I myself am not very comfortable with the TikTok because I don't want to be dancing. But also, they are now also front-facing, right? So they can meet clients, they can,
How many girls are these we are talking about?
So I've got 2 permanent girls.
Yeah.
And then I've got 8 semi-permanent. So sometimes like client can come and they want like 1,000 candles and then they give me one day. We've got a friend in BNI who does that to me all the time. And so that's when I get in the extra help.
And bring those in to get all this work done.
Yeah.
Saudah, we are definitely out of time, but I have a confession to make. I didn't realize that 30 minutes wouldn't be enough for us.
Yeah.
We came here to talk about candles, then the conversation, went into a whole other thing. We'll have to do 2-3 episodes to exhaust your story. Yeah. You get bored quickly. And you've had your hand at many things, many different classes, typical class, school, degrees, masters, and all that. What inspires you to keep doing all these things and moving on to the next one without,
I've got to feed my mind. I'm a Mayanja, I am my father's daughter. So I've got to constantly feed my mind. That is always, and in fact, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but I always have a book. I'm constantly reading. So I do that, but that restlessness helps me on the candle side.
That's the word.
Yes.
That's the word you've said it.
Yes.
The restlessness. Because I'm not sure I've seen you, whether in a meeting or anything, where you're there and you're just seated there focusing at something. Your mind is always...
My mind is constantly in the moment, So, but that helps me on the business side because I am constantly innovating. I started with just this candle, the one in the glass. But now I have 10 different sizes. I've got 10 different products. We didn't talk about this one, the camis.
Yes.
We didn't talk about the products that I make specifically for hotels. I'm constantly innovating. I ask myself, how can I... So, like in the event side, I started by making the decorating candles. Then I was like, you know what? I'll make these scented candles. We've got to start supplying the we call them Ebidabo Yabako
Yes,
in Uganda,
yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Because at a certain point, a person gets tired of receiving an umbrella or a pair of socks.
Rocking a chair.
Yeah. So we innovated that. Then I was like, do you know what? We can also innovate it from the corporate side. So
Yeah.
we also supply people for corporate gifting. And then I'm constantly thinking. And then there's people that come to me and they're like, do you know what? Can you make me candles for my branding? And then I will sell, we call that white label manufacturing. We economists.
I love it.
Yeah, so that's the in fact, do you know, I don't think there is a negative side to having a restless mind and
No.
that is constantly thirsty for knowledge, because it helps me to innovate for my business, and it helps me to grow as a person.
Yes, it does. It does.
Constantly researching
Clearly,
everything.
it does. Saudah, very good to have you here on the show.
Thank you.
I really, really look forward to having another conversation where we dive deep into your lives in the different parts of the world and the experiences from there. And, blessing upon Mayanja Candles and its growth. May God give you a long life and that more restlessness to keep innovating and moving it to greater heights.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Viewers and listeners, this was Saudah Mayanja from Mayanja Candles. If you'd like to get in touch with her, learn more about her life, get to know her, get a Mayanja candle or something, we'll drop her details in the description below, and maybe her social media handles as well, and see what she's about. Until the next time on Business Chronicles, was good having you. Thank you.
All right.